I'd like to call upon Karen's higher self and the subconscious and all the collectives that can help us today.
Yes, we are gathered here with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that tremendously. Are we able to just see if the body is in balance and in harmony, please?
Yes, she's very relaxed and everything seems to be functioning quite well. But we will continue to scan throughout the session to make sure everything goes accordingly.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. We do have some questions about the information we were provided about the laser from the satellite. Are we able to get the most appropriate information for us today, please?
Yes, it's not an intentional attack on this planet. I will I will call it more of a malfunction, close to being an accident made by a man-made accident. Um, there is a wide area that it is that's affected by this laser beam hitting and scarring the earth. Many people will have their exit points then. I can see that it is a couple of months away. It is going to be early fall. We don't want to give an exact date, as there's still your there could be things that change, as free will of course plays a role in everything, but the way the course for this event is set, it's pretty solid. It will play out. I'm showing her pretty straight trajectory for this beam, and it does reach throughout the North Americas, from Canada through most of the United States into a small portion of Mexico, and it does run north to south. The beam's not on very long. It's caught by somebody that's operating the program that it was released, and it shut down. Otherwise, it could have actually burnt up more of the Earth's surface, not just in that area, but other portions of the world. As the satellite traveled, it could have just spontaneously emitted its power. But that looks like it was prevented. But we still have the initial beam that does hit Earth, and that still looks like it's going to happen. Is there anything more that you want to ask me about that?
Yes, please. Has it been tested before? Has it occurred before?
There have been short sprays, we'll call them, that were directed towards Earth, mainly over water. So it did no damage and it went unnoticed. There were some earthquakes around the North Atlantic Ridge. It's quite deep there. And that's the area that they did test the beam at. course, they did some testing that wasn't Earth directed, nor was it directed towards any planet that they're aware of. But every time it was pointed into the deep space, we were able to collect that energy with our technology, and that beam did not go very far.
I see. And so um, when it does occur and hit the planet, will it be someone actively controlling to choose that date and time?
No, it's a total malfunction. Um, it's also neglect or negligence. That's the word I want to display here. The keepers of the program did not, they didn't secure portions of, it's not really testing, but there's continuous maintenance that's monitored and make sure there's upkeep. And there was a phase skipped. And that's why this beam went off on its own. And like we said a few minutes ago, before it could do more than one path of damage, that was caught and it was shut down. So no more targets on Earth, I guess I would call that, or destroyed. It's not really target. It's just the surface.
And so, since it is going to occur from the last sessions we have done about this, um, would we say that this is then sort of divine blessed plan? I'm not too sure how to even, because it's been allowed to happen. What are we supposed to? How are we supposed to understand um, why?
The processing or your discernment, your intuition. It may not come today, but you will understand why it happened. And the lack of divine intervention is more of what you're seeking understanding of. And this event will be used to prompt people into awakening. There's been way too many projects, scientists, experiments that harm this planet. That was allowed because of free will, but it's always been a small percentage of humanity that contributed to these disasters or anomalies. They didn't give the rest of humanity a voice. They just went forward with their work for the greater good, but it never was the greater good. And this is a prime example of the controllers harming the planet, harming humanity. And it was for no reason. It didn't develop into helping, growing, expanding, cleaning up the planet. Nothing for humanity. This blue beam project with the holograms and then also the laser to illustrate power coming from outer space. It was all for, showmanship. But they used an actual beam with intense energy, and they could have used just lights or even another hologram to pull off the trickery that they're trying to do. There will be more ships seen in the skies. People will identify them as UFOs or, spacecraft belonging to other species. In actuality, it is their holograms, and they'll be amping up that type of work.
So this technology was designed to do as it is going to do then, is that correct?
Yes, and it does feel also like a part of this was to the laser beam, that it was also possibly going to be used in case there was any near Earth objects that could possibly hit Earth. They thought they could destroy it with a laser beam, which they could, but they didn't have a chance to test it out on those type of objects. That won't occur. This tragic event will be the one and only time that most of the power this beam holds will be used.
I see. Okay. So there's no one actually going to be controlling the date for this. It's just something that organically occurs.
The control for the date, we know the date because we can see into the timeline that far, of course. If we needed to, we could adjust that date, but we can't adjust the event itself. And we're showing the vessel that it's early fall, it's still warm in most parts of her country. We don't want to give her an actual date. We do want people to keep living their daily lives, and we don't want them to live in fear. There's enough of that already. We shared the information to prepare the ones that are already in the know that they may need to come into service and help others sooner than they expect it. A lot of the ones that we hear talk about helping, they feel like they're already on ships. But with the timeline split, this event will occur almost simultaneously for when they merge back together. And there's going to be a lot of activity, a lot of chaos. We need the ones that are strong and have done their inner work and have grown and expanded to help guide the others and heal any of the traumas that they will be going through. This new timeline is what brought on the satellite / laser event coming up. That's why you're just now hearing about it. This timeline's only been actively running for like a month and a half. We didn't share it before because it didn't exist on the other timeline that we just took an exit from.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to ask why we're just getting this information now, so it does make sense. So thank you. Um, so in terms of without giving dates, the shift versus the event of the laser, um, how much time is going to be given in between those two events in general, or is it going to just be? I mean, I know that people are shifting every day, but what would you say for the average, say, American experiencing the laser versus their exit points?
It would almost be the same moment. A lot of, we're going to use that event to evacuate and help humanity use it as an exit point to shift.
And
It will be, it will be at the same time. Um, the loss of life that will be observed will be attributed to the laser event. Although most of the people that are no longer on Earth will actually be shifted.
so, for the people who are on the old Earth, when they're in a completely different country, but they notice people shift, um, how will they understand that they are shifting if the event is happening on one day where the laser beam happens and many shift?
That is a plan that we've put into place already. There are going to be, of course, still natural disasters that occur that will take several, and then many, and then millions in different parts of the world. The event for the laser will distract. It will distract humanity from seeing all the exit points. Sometimes they appear like they're happening at different times, but with the way the timeline is set up and the way that we can see it from here, it all happens at once. And I know that's kind of a muddy way to tell you about it. But on the other side of the world, it might be a week. That a lot of their a big disaster could happen, like in Asia, that takes out millions and millions of people. And then a week later, this laser event. But the way we see it, we're not really controlling and manipulating the timeline, but we can observe it and fine tune it. It is all streamlined and it can happen at once from our perspective. Does that make any sense to you?
It is making sense. I mean, I know it's a very broad question, so I do appreciate the clarity that you can give us. That's for sure. So thank you. Um, what else was I going to ask? Karen and I were discussing Stephen King and his agenda for humanity with his literature, specifically Doctor Sleep. What would you like us to know about that?
He does, in that movie, depict crimes against humanity, especially targeted at children. It's a very disturbing movie. I don't know if I would recommend most to watch it, but throughout his career, he has written and told stories, and he gets these ideas through his dream, through his team that they share with him to startle humanity, and it has, awakened people that read his material. But that latest one, if you definitely watch it, it will set you on a different course, different path of thinking. It'll actually piss you off, is the best way to put it. on how a group of people, and I don't even know if they're human in that movie, feel that they can kidnap, torture, steal energy, kill children for their own benefit so they can continue to live long lives. And in reality, that has happened on your world.
What is his motivation? Where does he source his material from?
His team gives him dreams and thoughts and ideas. That's happened throughout his whole life. At first, they scared the hell out of him and he didn't know what to do with them. So he would write his dreams out, and he found that eventually he had a novel. So he was sharing his innermost thoughts. At first, it was just to help himself, his own therapy. But then he decided, if it's helping me, I'm sure it's helping others. So he continued his work.
In terms of his life contract, it kind of reminds me of Nostradamus in the terms of he gets given information that is true to some extent.
There's always lessons, it seems, with Stephen King's more than prophecy, although some of his stuff can and has come to fruition. It's showing the hidden darkness that lives on this earth. He has been cursed to view all that and share it. It's not always been enjoyable for him.
Are we able to give him love and gratitude for his service to help awaken humanity, please?
Yes, and he deeply grateful. He knows his works were respected, but he wants to also feel that it was worth sharing and it helped humanity. And with you bestowing on him love and healing, he knows that he's appreciated and he thanks you.
I can imagine, well, people think it is entertainment. I hope that all who read his information um, would open their consciousnesses to see a little bit more of the reality that is around them.
I I know that we can see most people are addicted to being frightened, fear, scared. They like the thrill and they do view it as entertainment. But there are messages in each and every one of his stories. And by this being publicly said now, it'll reach many, many more, and they'll grow from it. Even reflecting back on some of the material that you've read of his, you won't have to reread it. The information will be given to you if you ask with the lesson, and you can live the lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, well, thank you so much. It was very intriguing. In terms of a question that we have um, about himself, are we able to call upon Ashtar, please?
Yes, he's more than willing to come and visit with us.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Out of curiosity, I would like him to tell us from his perspective what a twin flame is.
I know that people on the earth love to label. So, what you view as a twin flame is simply a part of your soul dwelling It's actually a part of you, but it's dwelling in another body. So it thinks like you, they act the same, they like the same things, they're twins. And you can do more than one twin flame, but if you divide it too much, it weakens. So it's never suggested. It's usually just one twin flame. Um, what else would you like to know? That's just the basic description.
Mm. Okay, well, it's very interesting. Thank you. I do have twins, and they're very different and like things quite differently. So it's really interesting to understand the difference between literal twins and soul twins. In terms of, say, for example, you, Ashtar, if I mean, is it possible for you to have a twin flame here on Earth at this time?
It would be possible, but I do not. I could have sent a part of my, like a soul shard. That's a little different than a twin flame. A twin flame is more of a intimate's not the word I want to use. It's more of a very close connection to oneself. I do. I've had a soul shard on Earth. I currently do not now, and I do not have a twin flame on Earth. I have been diligently preserving and protecting the planet you reside on, and I've needed all of my energies to focus on the um, the design and the planning, and not only here but also to all the destinations that we will be reaching out towards in the near future. So I did not allow any of my personal self to be on Earth at this time. I feel my role was better served with what I'm doing, and with the love and respect that we afford you and all the people on Earth. I feel that it has been the best decision that I've ever made.
Well, thank you very much again for your service. Out of curiosity, when you did have a soul aspect of you here, what kind of time frame was that?
Many, many thousands of years ago.
Okay.
It was before the last reset. We had come to visit, and that decision was made, and I had to play a role in that as well.
And why was the last reset needed?
People, we've tried to guide through love and lessons and experience, but some of the cultures on Earth always end up going down the same path. And that wasn't the desired path at all. I'm trying to say this with kid gloves so it doesn't sound so inhumane. But there are times on this planet that if we would let it continue, the races that were dominant would have destroyed the whole entire planet. And we can, even with free will, cannot allow that to happen. So the last reset had to occur because of that reason. We had to preserve the planet.
I understand. Would this be in reference to Atlantis?
You've done your homework, haven't you?
I try.
But yes, you are correct. It was that culture. Every time it would rise up, it was always dominant over other cultures and civilizations. And they love learning and they love experimenting, but they never put boundaries on their work. And that's where the destructive path was taking them because of the boundaries. They had no boundaries.
Thank you. It is one thing to explore and experiment, but the purpose for being in physical lifetimes is to explore emotions and master unity and compassion.
They were more concerned about their physical surroundings and changing and manipulating what they thought, what they viewed as a lesser DNA strand. They would try to manipulate, or they also were at one time we tried to lead them more on a technology route to stay away from the biology and the splicing and that type of experimenting. And we gave them technology and they abused that as well. They were a very smart race. In a very short time, they could create and manifest. But they were just as destructive with technology as they were the biology information. And that's why the last reset had to occur. They were getting to the point of making potentially very destructive bombs, we'll put it in that terminology, that could have definitely destroyed the planet and the ripple out effect of that from this solar system to the galaxy to this universe and the next. We couldn't allow all those other races and species and different homes of so many to be affected. So that reset, it occurred, and we haven't had to do it again. We've been able to contain what goes on right now with technology. Even though you have more advanced technology, a lot of it's been directed towards communication. And humans like to make money. That's one of the things they like to create, the ones that are here now. So when the focus is on that type of commodity, although it's a very negative and low energy, it's not as dangerous.
Well, thank you for that. And in terms of the Palladians, how is their opinion on the laser that we heard about just yesterday?
There's some there's quite a bit of sadness because there's many of us that have soul family down here. And although we know the greater purpose, we still feel and can foresee the trauma that they will experience. I know it's going to go forward. There is not a lot of ways to rescue some from the event and the trauma for sure. But we are going to be at the ready as soon as it occurs. It is in our plans to evacuate and help with the shift at the same moment. It will be seamless.
In terms of what people will see, if they could see the laser, what would they be able to see with their naked eye?
It's going to be a very, very bright. Actually, some of you have described it as a solar flare because it's going to appear like a very bright light. It's going to be a very short and fast burst, but it does enough damage, like was described earlier. So I can see that a lot of humans that have been waiting for a solar flash, when they witness this beam, they are going to relate the two. They're going to think it's the solar flare they've been waiting for. And since there's going to be a shift upon the same moment, they won't know until later what it actually was. And they will only know if they inquire and look back through the history of Earth and through records.
Well, thank you, because it makes a lot of sense. Because there has been, we've asked about the solar flash many times, and we were told some people will see it and some people won't see it. Um, so it makes sense. If you are in the path of the laser, you will see it, and other people will not experience it. Um, they will shift on the same day. That makes complete sense now. Um, so extraordinary. Thank you very much. Um, and so, uh, in terms of the flexibility of the date, are you can you see it being a wide range?
No, it's very compact. It can possibly be shifted within a day or two, but I don't foresee it being changed and moved out. Um, this part of Earth's history has to play out because of the people involved and the lessons and their contracts.
I see.
And it was designed through them for them to be this way. I know that you understand that completely.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and we can respect that and understand, the bigger.
One thing that I would want to add on a side note, um, you need to, we want to tell you and advise you to start holding space for the ones that are yet to come forward and awaken. I want you to consciously be aware of how many will need the help. And by you holding the space, they can walk through this with more ease and less trauma. Holding space includes love for them, knowledge for them, and compassion. And as we think about even the ones that we don't know that will be coming forward with us on this journey, it will make everybody's future smoother, and the work that is laid out ahead of us will go forward without a hiccup. And holding space right now, even starting today, is so very important. And that will allow everybody that is coming up behind you that needs this information.
Yes, thank you. It's will be of course our hopes and of service to be able to provide and behave and respond that way. I think we're still learning how to have love with boundaries, and so there are still some growth for all, um, to be of service completely.
I need to ask you about love with boundaries. Love should have no boundaries. Um, that would be a part of the unconditional love that we're teaching. There is no boundaries with love. If your light is shining bright and you're trying to illuminate those around you, your love should be coming out and pouring onto them. And it will, if accepted by them, they will grow. And that is a part of unconditional love and no boundaries.
What if you do love them and they don't accept it? What are you supposed
That
to?
is their free will, and you are to walk on.
Could we define boundaries as walking on?
That would be defined as knowing the I'm trying to find the best way to put it. It's I would define it as respecting their wishes. And that would be their boundaries and not yours.
Okay, I understand that. Okay, well, that's a great approach. So thank you. Um, okay, well, this is very extraordinary information, and um, as we put it all into place, it will not um, lower our vibrations as we understand that we have always heard about the shift and what was necessary. So we do appreciate very much all of the information. Um, is there anything else you would like us to know?
Yes, we are adding into each and every one's, you call them upgrades, we call it support, but we're adding extra energy, and we're adding this so your vibrations will stay high. And just as the person that you're walking away from because they didn't want to accept your love, you have to willingly accept the energy as well. We can't just give it to you and it works. So when you feel upgrades coming on, if you want them, accept them, and it will definitely help the vibration for you and for this whole planet. So I wanted to share that information in case some were not aware of that.
So just to break it down, when you're feeling a upgrade or a support from you, how do we accept it? How do we know how to do that and what it is?
We have observed a lot of people like this vessel here. She will experience ringing in her ears. And so she has a feeling that there's extra energy around. A lot of times she will be thankful and grateful and accept the energy. Um, a lot of times we find that she does deep breathing to process it and release what is not needed for her back out. And she sends the energy to go somewhere else where it's needed. So she does that type of practice to accept, and she will get upgrades through her body while this energy is flowing through her. That's one practice. We've observed several others, thousands of different methods actually, that are very effective that people use to accept the energy and use it and send it on. And that keeps the vibration within you and the planet higher.
Well, thank you very much for that. That's incredibly empowering for us to know. Well, thank you. And is there anything else you want us to know today?
Not at this time. We don't like to give too much information at once. We definitely like you to process it, and then when we meet again, you have more intriguing questions, and we can get directly to the information. So we always like to let you process and not give too much at once.
Thank you. Well, we really appreciate you knowing exactly what we need So we will honor that and apply the information with much love that you have provided for us today.
I appreciate you, and we love you and support you. And we have always been looking out after you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It does feel very supportive.
It's all in love. And for those that would be, I don't want to say it that way. I want to be direct, but I don't want to be malicious. For those that are willing and they are accepting and they do have the love and they know the bigger purpose, we thank you for your service and your great support. And we cannot wait to work with you in the future on a closer basis.
Great, thank you. Well, we'll look forward to it. And in the meantime, we will keep doing our inner work and keeping our vibrations high and taking responsibilities, being here at this time to our most important focus.
Great. We love you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so can we connect back to Karen's subconscious and higher self, please?
I am back here.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for all those connections and information. I would love to understand, please, what I was seeing yesterday about Karen going on holiday the first time and taking the plane. Why was I sensing that she may have shifted then?
That was very, very close to the same time we had a timeline shift. And she was given information about maybe not returning back home. But with the timeline change, that of course reset her future, just like it did everybody else's. They weren't tweaked enough on that timeline to make a huge difference that people noticed. But since she was given the information session, it was clearly on her mind and she did recognize the difference. And you would have as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting. Very, very interesting. I guess this is what we have to keep our open minds while listening to this information, that we can have timeline shifts and things can change. So we must be very open minded to this information without getting fixated on certain events or time. Is that how you would like us to approach it?
That is the very best thing to do, because at any given moment, if a directive were to come and have another timeline split or a timeline jump, even, which we've never touched base on, or a timeline shift, if any of that were to occur, what you were expecting may not exist in that timeline. I know you would notice it greatly. And then the disappointment could lead to grief and other lower and negative emotions that don't serve you. And if that does occur and happen to you, please remember the bigger perspective, that it's all in divine timing. It's not on our timing. And patience definitely plays a huge role, and flexibility. Being open-minded and flexible to these changes will help you have a smoother journey.
Remind me again how you feel. Well, I know that you're connected to Karen, but do you have anyone else that you are supporting as their conscious and higher self that's on this planet at this time?
There are many, many, and some of them she's never met. Um, you're definitely one that she supports. She has her granddaughter and both her daughters that she supports. There's a lot of feminine energy more than masculine that she supports on this earth. She's had many younger teenagers and women that have been placed in her path that were wounded or had trauma somewhere in their lives. And she played the mentor role with them and helped heal them. And she's been doing this for many years. Even before she was awakened, she had this role that she played out with several of her daughter's friends and then coworkers that were much younger than her. They were always placed in her path for her to help.
Fantastic. I love that about her. That is so special. Thank you so much. So, in terms of her returning to work, what would you like her to know?
She'll have a smooth transition. I foresee that the strange thing is it might only last a couple days. I can't give her a very clear um, length of time, but it doesn't seem like she spends a lot of time at this job because things change again. And that's all that I can share at this point right now.
Thank you. I respect all information that you can provide. So, I will not be pushing my limits with you. So, thank you very much. I just know she would like to just sort of know how things are going to unfold for her as much as you are willing to share. And I really appreciate all the advice and wisdom that you have provided for her. Is there any more information that you would like to share with her that you know she would like to know?
I know that she has been shown her bigger self and what she was before she volunteered to come to Earth. And it was distracting because then she was almost creating a longing to be there and not here. So we kind of removed some of the memories that we actually shared or let her view so she could focus more on this life, these missions, these lessons. Because if you are shown what could be anybody would, and it resonates with you and you love it, your focus and your love is going to be there and not here. And we really need everybody to focus on the now. Grow yourself, expand. I know the word inner work comes up so much, but it does because it's so very, very important. You need to release as much as you can, leave the old baggage behind, so to speak, all the attachments. And that one sounds very sad because everybody has love, whether it's a pet, a friend, family, but these attachments will not serve you as you're trying to shift. I hope that don't sound too harsh, but it will make it smoother for each and every one of us.
Not harsh at all. This is our own individual journey, and while we do like support, it can distract us sometimes when there are friends or family that are on a different path and journey.
Yes, indeed. And sometimes that path and journey they're on serves their purpose, but it does not serve ours individually. They want it, they wanted to design their life that way. And so they did. And even though that you are in that relationship, you don't own them and they don't own you. And you cannot change what they've asked to live and experience. We have to respect what they signed up for as they respect what we signed up for. if they're not interfering with our lives and how we feel and how we're growing, we should return that respect through love. And that also, again, is a part of unconditional love.
It feels like love and respect is key. What about the saying when people say, I respect with all the respects? With respect to
I've
disagree.
heard, I respect you with all my heart. I've heard the vessels heard that phrase.
Right. What about respecting to disagree? Is that appropriately acceptable to say you're on different journeys?
Yes, because that's exactly what it is in reality. It's just accepting and respecting. Accepting has to help, or sometimes has to occur before the respect comes forward.
Yeah.
It's very demanding on yourself to try to change somebody because you feel it's best for them, because you see them on what you feel and what you see as the horrible path in life. But we all have to remember the path in life here is not as real as we think it is. Once we shift and we realize what we actually experienced, it's like, why did I take that all so serious? Why did I want to change my brother? He was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing. And we will realize these things. I know we've been conditioned to be right, or I'm doing it out of love, or I mean, we can use 1,000 excuses to try to change somebody, but we just need to sit back and let them be what they are, because that's what they let us do in return.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I accept everyone. I try to accept everyone as how they are. That's for sure. It's very helpful to be able to have that perspective. It's just it's always curious when I have connections with other people and can see all their inner work still coming out of their pores, and still can accept them. With, I think everyone's inner work is still very obvious to everyone else apart from themselves.
A lot of people like to hold on to memories or not face their memories. There's a lot of reasons not to do your inner work. The bigger one is I can do it later. Yeah, that came up in my head, but I have to finish this, making my dinner, or, you know, I'll address that later. But instead of maybe writing it down, or, you know, a physical note to remind themselves, I need to focus on this. What did I feel like through that situation? Can I release this? Can I forgive and move forward? A lot of people might address things, but they're not really forgiving the situation or the people they blame for it. And that's a part of the attachment process. You're attached to that emotion and you have to let go of them as well.
Balance and neutral.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you so much. And we also were noticing that Karen's still seeing the number 1222. Is there any reason why she's still doing that?
She did a little investigating after her last session and the beam, and she thought to herself, maybe it's the miles that beam creates a scar. So she's going to research that a little more. And although she don't know the exact starting point and ending point, she wants to investigate it with what she recalls seeing. And she thinks it's going to be pretty close, actually.
Sounds like a great hobby. um, and in terms of why do I still see 1221? What's that about?
That is an interesting thing to explore. And I can't tell you at this time.
Okay.
I, I can, I know that our higher selves speak, and your higher self already knows the answer. Um, that's what I'm getting right now. But for the public session, it's not to be spoken. So I can't say anything about your 1221.
Okay, thank you. And then what about 808? Am I allowed to hear this?
808 appears to be August 8th. And do you have a social event on that day?
Probably working and sleeping.
I feel like you have a social event coming up on 8/8, which is also always considered the Lion's Gate. It's a portal that opens on that day.
Oh, interesting. I'll get my skinny dress ready.
Yay. It's a party.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Is there any other information that we need to hear today?
No, but I appreciate you calling us in. We always enjoy connecting with you.
Likewise, thank you so much.